So, is cis a slur? I don't know. Let's hear the arguments. It's definitely not. It should be, though. Here's a video by Sophia Narwitz. It's called Is Cis a Slur? We're gonna get right into it. Hey, JXE. It is not a slur.
Popularized by gender activists, the word cis has found widespread usage within the online sphere. But where some see terminology that simply designates a person as non-trans, others view it as an insult. And being quite frank, they may not be incorrect. Because in today's...
Okay, hold on. I have to explain. Yo, JXE, if you want to be an alpha omega chat, you should come to the website chat. That's where everybody's, that's where all the cool kids hang out. Here, really quickly, I have to explain where the terms cis and trans come from. So, basically, the term cis and trans actually originates from chemistry. Cis and trans isomerism. It's really fucking complicated chemistry bullshit that I love chemistry, big chemistry guy, and I like it, but I'm not gonna sit here and go full on fucking chemistry professor on all of you. Basically, the idea is, you have isomers, you have cis, and you have trans. Cis means same or reflective or similar, while trans means different or non-reflective, essentially, right? So, for example, I think it has to do with chirality. Does anyone here know what chirality is? I don't think... I'm not... Okay, never mind. I'm not getting into the fucking chemistry bullshit. Anyway, cis and trans are not, like, made-up terms that just fucking, sort of materialized out of the void, and they're now, like, these woke SJW words or anything. They originate from... they originate from biological chemistry. These are terms that have specific meanings that are backed up by science and it don't just come out of anywhere. Now, anyone who thinks cis is like a slur or like an insult or something like that is either taking jokes made by trans people way too seriously or think that cis sounds like sissy. So when you call someone cis, you're calling them like a sissy or something, and that makes them mad, or I guess like just being like thin-skinned snowflakes.
Today's climate, more often than not, it's used to talk down to others. I mean, by definition, a slur is an insulting or disparaging remark, and I fail to see how cis doesn't match that description. Spend just a few minutes on social media, and it quickly becomes apparent how the label is weaponized. Cis men are portrayed...
People are mean to other people on social media? Wait, where is the... Wait, when were the trans people like rounding up the fucking cis people into trains and shipping them off to the fucking concentration camps or enslaving them? Like, generally when we call something a slur, there's an actual history of like hatred and oppression behind it. I don't think trans people shit-talking cis people on Twitter is like a prerequisite for saying something's a slur, or there's a huge problem around this or anything like that. Name a single label that refers to a race, gender, or sexuality that doesn't get used to be mean on Twitter. Yeah, true. If we're being completely honest, true. Like, everybody fucking hates everybody on Twitter. Twitter's a hell site, okay? Everyone shits on everybody else on Twitter, no matter what your race, identity, anything like that is. Everybody gets shit on Twitter. But I promise you, fucking trans people get a lot more shit on Twitter than cis people do, okay? I fucking promise you.
As the beneficiaries of an uber-privileged gender that doesn't work hard for their individual achievements. They're also deemed as emotionally unintelligent and a disease. Just the simple act of communicating with them is something to be scoffed at. Painting with broader strokes, cis people as a whole...
These tweets have like a few hundred, if not like 5 fucking likes, dude. What are you doing? You're like, this is not how journalism works, okay? I'm so fucking fed up with these pseudo-journalists whose entire worldview comes from Twitter posts. I could literally claim that that there's a problem with like if we want to like over-exaggerate the problem with flat earthers, which is a big problem, you can go on Facebook and find tens of thousands of flat earthers on there, and you can say, yep, flat earth is a big problem, we got a huge flat earth problem, this is a huge issue. Like, it's a problem, but it's not like the fucking groundbreaking issue that like Sophia Narwitz is gonna try to like make out the cis term being. Like, come on. It's the internet. There's tons of dumb fucks on the internet. If we made an apocalyptic level issue out of every dumb fuck we found on the internet, we'd be fucking stewing in issues.
Painting with broader strokes, cis people as a whole are depicted as unimaginative, ignorant, and not worthy of being heroes. In some instances, even fictional media is looked down upon if its characters are cis.
Wait. That's not what that said. Don't have cis heroes if you're trans? What? Who? Also, why is this person verified? Who is this transcribe? I don't even care. Listen, it is literally a meme that you don't take the blue check marks on Twitter seriously, okay? Like, we just had Shoe-on-Head in here earlier. She could easily get the blue check mark, but the blue check mark instantly destroys your brain. If we want to talk about a real problem, it's the Twitter verification check mark. That's what really causes it. But it's a white check mark now. It used to be blue, okay? But yeah, that's the problem. It's the fucking check mark. Anyway, I'm pretty sure the main problem that's being highlighted here is the fact that trans people don't really have like a lot of role models to look up to in popular media, and when they do, they're kind of like tokenized. It's blue on light mode. Thankfully, I don't use light mode. Like, let's be honest, if you're trans, you don't really have all that many heroes to look up to, or like role models that are also trans to look up to in media. And like, it's absolutely possible to look up and relate with a character who isn't the same identity as you, right? Like, let's say you're like, let's use Lee as an example from the Walking Dead Telltale game, right? I'm not black, okay? And yet I was still absolutely able to look up to Lee from the Walking Dead Telltale game, okay? However, there is an important, like, if you're gay or trans or anything like that, that is a significant part of your identity and part of your life, especially if you're trans. Like, for the most part, if you're trans, a significant amount of your time and thought and energy is going into, you know, transitioning, into fitting the gender that you are most comfortable with. That's a significant part of your life. So when you find characters in media that also represent that that struggle, and you can relate to that, that's a significant, like, bonding thing. That feels good. When you find a character, like if you find a character in media, think about it like this. If you find a character having nothing to do with identity that you really relate to, like let's say your parents got divorced and it was like a really messy divorce and it fucked up your childhood really bad. If you watch a show and there's a main character who's going through the same thing and you're able to see that experience like reflected in media, you're going to have a much stronger connection to that character and you're going to feel a lot like happier being represented by that. It doesn't even have to do with identity. It's part of it, but just being able to relate to these characters on a fundamental level is really, really beneficial to a lot of people. There's like a fundamental thing people need to understand. And I feel like a lot of them don't.
Worthy of being heroes. In some instances, even fictional media is looked down upon if its characters are cis. Celebrities who try to point out the word's insulting nature are met with a cacophony of eye roll.
Well, yeah, you probably should eye roll if you get fucking triggered over the term cis. Yeah, it's a scientific term. Also, once again, one like. Who are these check marks that are getting one like on their post? Who are these people? I'm gonna listen. I'm applying for the verified tick mark after this stream. Okay, I'm verifying. I'm applying for the verified fucking tick after this. Okay, that's what I'm doing.
Cis. Celebrities who try to point out the word's insulting nature are met with a cacophony of eye rolls and personal attacks. Ratcheting up the level of nonsense are netizens who claim cis can't.
Literally no likes. This one has 1.2k. Good job. You found one that actually has likes on it.
Be a slur because trans folk.
Cis is only ever used in relation to gender identity. If you are not trans, then you are cis. That's how adjectives work. Cis cannot be used as a slur because trans people do not have systemic structural power over cis people. That's how slurs work. True! Yeah, this isn't like an example of like trans people hating cis people. This is literally a calm, rational explanation of why cis isn't a slur. But the posts that she does find where like cis people are being attacked
look down
literally have one or no likes.
Upon if its characters are cis. Celebrities who try to point out the word's insulting nature are met with a cacophony of eye rolls and personal attacks. Ratcheting up the level of nonsense are netizens who claim cis can't be a slur because trans folk hold no structural power over such people. A silly view on how words work to be sure, and one that I imagine wouldn't remain consistent.
Well, I mean, yeah. Generally, when we talk about slurs and oppression, we talk about those that hold power and those who don't. That's how it works. They think cis is an insult because they use trans as an insult. That's true.
If a fellow trans person spewed toxicity their way. If I was a gambler, I'd put money on them hitting the report button on Twitter if someone was to do just that. The belief that derogatory language changes due to social standing isn't exclusive to just a few small corners of the net, either. It's been gaining traction as of late, and there's a very clear routine of—
Hey babe, if you're watching right now, can you get me a coffee? I'm starting to get a little drowsy.
mental gymnastics that the overly woke crowd is using to come up with their own rules. Within the same instance, they may express that, quote, cis is not mostly used in a negative connotation, end quote, while also exclaiming that if it was, quote, it doesn't matter because cis people are not oppressed, end quote. All of this may come across as cherry-picked examples.
Well, thanks, babe. Yeah, no, it's not usually used, like, it's rarely used in an insulting manner. Like, I like, the most I see cis used in an insulting manner is, like, as a joke. Which, by the way, these, like, right-wing people are the ones that always talk about how the left can't handle jokes and they don't understand irony. So whenever, like, a trans person says, ah, yes, the cis scum, as, like, a joke, they lose their shit. I'm telling you, right-wingers are the real snowflakes. It's true. They really are. They are literally, like, they'll say the left can't understand irony, but whenever, like, a trans person makes a joke about cis people on Twitter, they literally don't pick up on the irony and they lose their fucking minds. What fucking snowflakes, dude?
But the most basic of searches reveals that the term is very much used to attack others. More often than not, it accompanies messages that downplay a person's worth or diminishes their opinion. Entire memes have been created with the sole intent of telling cis people to shut the fuck up. An interesting development in its own right, as for a group that supposedly holds no structural power, I dare someone to make a meme which tells trans people to do the same. Contrary to the cis meme of the same concept, you can safely assume which one will be banned.
What?
This actually applies to—
Wait, how is this inconsistent? Wait, so she's saying if cis isn't a slur, if you call a trans person a slur, then you'll get banned. Wait, yeah. Because that's transphobia. Trans people are a protected group, or ideally they are. Trump's trying to roll that back, but, you know. Because they're a group that is heavily discriminated against. Duh, yeah, of course.
Any of the examples listed throughout this video. Imagine for a second if somebody called transgendered individuals a disease. The ban hammer would slam down with a lightning-fast speed. Personally, I don't consider cis a slur. Even with its often negative use, which would align it with the proper definition of a slur, in my mind, a slur is a much more serious word. Think the N-word or anti-Semitic language or anything that will typically cause major issues if you were to lob it somebody's way. But slur or not, I do think cis has quickly devolved into an insult. As a trans person, I can understand why it's making people so defensive.
I mean, oh god, I had the same conversation with my uncle on the phone a couple weeks ago. Like, as much as cis and trans are rooted in, like, hard science and biological chemistry, like, cis does sound like a slur. Or not like a slur, but as, like, a sort of, insulting phrase, you know? It's really hard to explain to someone why, like, cis, like, because it sounds like sissy, right? Like, I think most people probably heard these terms for the first time from South Park. It's true. I think most person heard the term cis for the first time from South Park. With, like, the sissy shit. That is most people's understanding of it, if we're being completely fucking honest. I feel like South Park has irony poisoned so many fucking people, to the point where they don't actually hold too many, like, principled, like, sincere viewpoints anymore. Don't get me wrong, I think South Park's a good show. I like South Park to a degree. Like, I think it's gotten a lot worse over the years. I think old South Park was a fucking masterpiece. But, like, God, I'm telling you, most people, like, when they think of the term cis, think of the South Park episode where Cartman pretends to be transgender and calls, like, everybody sissy. You guys remember that? Do you guys remember that? There was an entire, like, arc in a season of South Park back during the, the presidential election back in 2016 where, Cartman literally does the pretends to be a trans woman thing and calls calls everybody sissy. Yeah, okay, Make Love Not Warcraft, that episode of South Park is a masterpiece. No one can deny that. The WoW episode of South Park is a fucking masterpiece.
Social interactions shape how we see things, and social media makes up a bulk of our interactions these days. So when someone sees blue checkmark verified accounts or other big names trash-talking someone for the sole reason that they are cis...
There are no big accounts doing this. They have the checkmark, but they get 5 fucking likes. You've been showing them on screen, Sophia Narwitz. You've been showing them on screen. These are 5 to 10 like fucking posts, okay? The only ones that get more than 1,000 likes are the ones that are explaining that cis isn't a slur in a very, like, composed manner.
It creates resentment towards the word. If trans people want to be more widely accepted, they need to build bridges, not demolish them. Pissing off and picking fights with people who aren't trans...
Yeah, like, I've been seeing a lot more blue checkmark accounts on Twitter that have, like, less followers than I do. It's fucking insane. Like, can I get that fucking blue checkmark? Do I count as, like, a journalist or an activist so I can get that checkmark? I'm pretty sure I can do that, right? I feel like I could totally get that checkmark. I probably have, like, a decent enough follower count, and my job would probably, like... I'm a journalist. I'm an independent journalist, actually. I can count as I can probably claim to be, if Tim Pool and like those like other right-wing grifters like Paul Joseph Watson can claim to be an independent journalist, then I can fucking be. I can absolutely claim to be an independent journalist and an activist and get that fucking blue check mark. I can totally get it.
And using cis to negate their opinions on anything and everything is only going to create an environment full of conflict. And conflict solves nothing. It only pushes people into doubling down. And whether you think it's
there is validity in this, and I'm gonna get into this later. I do think, let's talk about J.K. Rowling. If she didn't get dogpiled as hard as she did, and most of the people going after her just explained like, oh yeah, by the way, this is a little bit transphobic, this is why this is wrong, and did it in like a composed manner, then she probably wouldn't be as much of a fucking like rabid transphobe as she is now. Usually, like getting dogpiled for saying something fucked up just makes people double down on their opinions. It's true. Guys, I don't want to hear anybody bitching about this on Twitter later. This is absolutely true. When somebody has a shitty opinion and you like fucking dogpile them over it and like attack the fuck out of them, it makes them double down. It'll never like shit talking them will never make them change their mind. It never happens. Same for Buck Angel. Same for J.K. Rowling. Same for, well, Blair White's a bit more dishonest. Same for like perfect in real world example, Hunter Avallone. Hunter Avallone used to have a lot of shitty opinions, and it wasn't until he talked to Vosh and then in his free time, in private, reflected on his beliefs, that he changed his mind. That's how people change their mind. Being informed in like a reasonable way. If you just dogpile them, it just makes them double down in their positions. I'm not making a moral prescription about this. This is a descriptive claim. This is a simple, factual claim. Dogpiling people for their shitty opinions only makes them double down. It's true. She does have a point here, but the conclusion she's coming to with it is not exactly valid.
Insult or not, the fact remains that many people believe that it is. A belief reinforced by the hatred they see all too often, and that frustration they feel is only going to create yet even more.
It's not backed up by hatred that they see or receive. It's backed up by misinformation and lack of education, okay? The way we fix this problem is by educating people, not by like trying to acquiesce to those that are fucking idiots that don't know what they're talking about.
Division. Focusing on the origin of the word, I have no doubt cis was brought into the public lexicon with good intentions, but what may have been intended as a useful descriptor has warped into a dismissive and condescending label. Once again, personally, I think it's largely pointless, given trans already serves to distinguish transgendered people from those who are not. But the existence of it is hardly offensive on its own. I won't outright ignore the hows and whys of its usefulness, but regardless of my opinions on its necessity, it can't be denied that it's no longer being used as intended. Activists may argue it's not derogatory, but they're doing a poor job of making a case as to why it is not. Far too often, that combination of 3 letters is used to write people off as meritless and unimportant. Made worse when those lobbying the insults then pretend their attacks are anything but because they lack the social power. It's a disingenuous means of using marginalized identities as a bludgeon. Call it rainbow bashing, if you will.
God, this is so snowflakey. Listen, the way we solve this problem... Pink bunny cup. Look at that pink bunny. Look at that. That's a pink bunny right there. The way we solve this problem is by educating people. Like, listen. Most of the people that do the fuck cis people, like, unironically thing on Twitter are woke scolds, and I speak out against those people on a fucking constant basis, okay? Don't worry. I'm never taking the cum pledge, okay? Vosh may be cutting off on that shit for now until the election is over, but I am never, ever taking the cum pledge, okay? My balls are fucking swollen and blue, because I never cum, okay? I'm going after other leftists constantly, okay? Constantly. I go after these people all the time. I do not agree with their methods. I do not agree with their behavior and their personalities, all right? So, listen, the way we fix this problem, we destigmatize the term cis among people that think it's a slur, is by simply educating and informing them. That's how we fix this problem. It is not a slur. We need to educate people as such. Scolding them and dogpiling them on Twitter when they think otherwise is not the best way to go about it. If after being educated and having the facts presented to them, they decide to be bad faith and like fucking stay grounded in their views, then yeah, sure, you can fucking dogpile the fuck out of them. I don't give a shit. Like, they probably deserve it. Like Blair White, she deserves the dogpiling she gets. Absolutely, 100%. She's had all the facts, all the data put right in front of her, and she still chooses to lie to back up her worldview. She absolutely deserves it. But like, if you're just some like 15-year-old white boy who thinks cis sounds like sissy, and when you tweet about that, a bunch of like trans cat girls with like fucking pig crew avatars come on and they start calling you like a cis scum piece of shit, all you're doing is cementing them further in their beliefs. That's all you're doing. When all they would need is to stumble across like a Vosh video or a Destiny video or maybe one of my videos, and they'll change their mind. It's happened plenty. Hypers, if you used to be like somewhat reactionary or iffy on trans people, but you stumbled across my videos and I did a really good job of explaining it and your mind's been changed. Hypers, if that's you. That's a fair amount of hypers. See? That's how we do it. That is how we solve this problem. And with all that said, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. It helps a lot with the algorithm on these videos. Share it around. If you enjoy my content, drop a sub. Ring that bell. Ring that bell so you know when I go live and you know when my videos go up. YouTube tends not to notify you that I've gone live if you haven't rung the bell. So definitely do that. And yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. Thank you for watching.